Welcome. Tonight, Federal High Court Abuja declines a bail application by 5 terrorism suspects linked to the attack on St. Francis Catholic Church in Owo Town, Ondo State. Lagos State government talks tough, says no compensation for property owners of Oworoshoki demolition. Economic and Financial Crimes Commission invites former Group Managing Director of NNPCL, Melekiari, for questioning over alleged financial misconduct during his tenure. And Russia's defense ministry says it has no plans to attack any target in Poland after Warsaw said Russian drones entered its airspace.
On business, the central bank unveils new strategic framework to drive a more inclusive, secure and globally competitive digital financial system for Nigeria.
On sports news tonight, Nigeria Cricket Federation unveils 15-man yellow-green squad for the 2026 ICC Men's T20 World Cup African qualifier in Zimbabwe.
And from Abuja, the nation's capital, the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority hands down a new flight regulation, bars pilots from flying any aircraft in which there is an unresolved unruly behavior.
Tonight, we begin in the courts. A federal high court sitting in Abuja has declined trial application and bail application by 5 terrorism suspects linked to the Al-Shabaab terrorist organization who allegedly attacked a Catholic church in Owo Town in Ondo State, leading to the death of over 40 worshippers. Justice Emeka Nwite, who dismissed their bail application, held that the terrorism charges against them were capital in nature, as the suspects are accused of being members of a strong foreign terrorist organization who may intimidate witnesses, influence and jeopardize the trial of the defendants before the court. Justice Nwite reiterated his order of accelerated trial and fixed October the 16th for full trial.
The courtroom is filled as family members, friends and associates of 5 terrorism suspects thronged the Federal High Court for the hearing of the bail application filed by the defendants. The trial judge begins by upholding the argument of the Department of State Service that the offense allegedly committed by the defendant is a capital one, which may inspire them to jump bail if allowed to go home. The judge further upheld the submission of the security agency that the 5 accused persons did not establish that they have credible sureties that can stand for them pending their trial. He said that the argument of the DSS that admitting them to bail would amount to judicial risk was also not challenged by their lawyers. Justice Nwite also held that the defendants failed to give cogent and verifiable reasons for them to be allowed home pending their trial and subsequently dismissed the bail request. The judge equally declared the motion on notice by the defendants as incompetent on the grounds that the names of the 5 defendants were not listed on the motion paper as required by law. In granting accelerated trial as requested by the Department of State Service, Justice Emeka Nwite fixed October 16 for commencement of trial.
We are very happy that their bail application has been denied, and rightly so. We are happy with the judge for agreeing with our position that terrorists or terror suspects should not be allowed to roam our society. And the reason is because we have witnesses that we need to protect, as well as the fact that they may abscond if they are allowed to go out on bail. So we are very happy with what has happened today in court. Moving on from now, we are going to conduct this trial expeditiously, as the presidential directive was given to us by the DG of the DSS. He has informed us that this trial must be carried out expeditiously, and that is what we are going to do.
The 5 accused persons, Idris Abdul Malik Omeza, Al-Kazim Idris, Jamil Abdul Malik, Abdul Hakim Idris, and Momo Otuho Abubakar, with others still at large, are alleged to have on the 5th of June 2022 caused the death of 40 persons and grievous bodily harm to over 100 others at St. Francis Catholic Church, Owo, Ondo State. The suspects are accused of detonating improvised explosive devices within the church premises, an act that is punishable under Section 42, subsection A of the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act of 2022.
We head to Anambra State now, where the governor, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, has condoled with the family of the victim of the Onitsha market tragedy on Tuesday, Ms. Chinwe Igwe. The governor, who received the family representatives from Ikwo in Ebonyi State at the Onitsha North local government headquarters, gave them assurances of getting to the root of what led to the tragic incident, promising that the erring security personnel will face prosecution. Governor Soludo insists that while enforcing law and order, operatives must play by the rules to avoid careless actions. While commending law enforcement agencies that swung into action when the incident occurred, he asked them to continue to maintain law and order across Anambra State. The governor also visited other injured persons at different hospitals.
We're determined we must get to the bottom of this. Whoever is responsible for this must be held to account, irrespective of who. I've had all manner of conflicting reports. Some, the social media says it's Onitsha Brigade personnel. The other report is that it is the vigilante in the market that opened fire. I don't know. And that's why I'm glad that the police has come into the matter very forcefully. And we should be able to, and I understand some arrests have been made. We should get to the bottom of it and intensify and have the investigations expedited as quickly as possible. Whoever carries arms, I mean, there are rules for the use of arms. Okay? If it is the vigilante in the market that open arms, we must get to the bottom of it. That open fire. If it is the Onitsha Brigade people that open fire, we must get to the bottom of it. And what if it's Onitsha Brigade? What were they enforcing? What did they go there, the bright street at that hour of the day to do? We must get to the bottom of all of this, because no life should be lost carelessly this way.
In Kaduna State now, staying with security matters, 3 policemen have been found dead following an attack by gunmen. The victims were attacked at the checkpoint in the early hours of Wednesday in Egbe in Yagba West local government area of Kogi State. The spokesman of the command, William Aya, confirmed this incident to journalists in Lokoja, the state capital, saying the State Commissioner of Police has deployed a tactical team to the area and officials are on the trail of the assailants, promising that the perpetrators will be arrested and brought to book. We move to Kaduna State, where more repented bandits in Giwa local government area have been engaged in violent attacks for years, have now surrendered, laying down their arms in line with the non-kinetic peace model initiated by Governor Ubasani. According to the government, several bandits and their commanders in Giwa and neighboring communities have agreed to a ceasefire after months of peace meetings with relevant stakeholders. The bandits are, however, appealing for provision of free fertilizer to enable them return to their farming business.
Birnin-Gwari, Giwa local government area of Kaduna State, is among the areas in the state impacted by insecurity in the last 10 years, leaving residents and businesses displaced. However, peace is gradually returning to the communities through the non-kinetic approach of the Kaduna State government. This meeting with officials of the Kaduna State government, traditional rulers, religious leaders, security agencies, and representatives of repentant bandits is part of the strategic engagement to review the peace process geared towards ending banditry, kidnapping, and cattle rustling in the state.
There is no war that ended up in battlefield. Dialogue, reconciliation, and non-kinetic approach is another way of crime prevention. We were overwhelmed with what we have seen. The degree of economic activities is going on. Relative peace has returned to Brunongwari. Today we are here. And what we are seeing here also indicates that peace has returned to Giwa local government.
The peace initiative dates back to November of 2024, when Governor Ubasani received the last group of repentant bandits in Birnangwari after months of dialogue.
A peaceful community is all we have prayed for, and thank God we are experiencing it. We are very happy for the peace we have now in all the communities of Birnangwari.
The latest ceasefire in Giwa is part of a broader non-kinetic strategy which involved disarmament, demobilization, and rehabilitation by the Kaduna State government.
The strongest demand for them was to reopen the market, especially the cattle market. That has been done. They also demanded that schools and hospitals should be established in their own locality, apart from having access to the market, healthcare facilities, educational facilities, and we have done that. The most important thing is peace is prevalent in all these locations.
If we engage the stakeholders, the various traditional institutions, the various leaders of the Fulani community, the elders, and what have we, and we have done that. Inshallah, the remaining 1%, as the chief of staff to the governor said, within a week or two, inshallah, that will be done.
As the repented bandits express commitments to ending hostilities and maintain peace in the area, they've been assured by the Kaduna State government that all agreements reached during the peace dialogue will be adhered to.
And away from security matters, days after the bulldozers rolled into Orunshoki area of Lagos State to clear what is believed to be houses built without approvals and shanties along the lagoon shoreline, hundreds of residents remain stranded, searching for shelter and clarity about their future. But Channels Television visited the scene of the enforcement to uncover the reasons behind the Lagos State government's action and the human impact of that action.
An aerial view reveals the extent of a demolition enforcement in the Ujileru part of Orunshoki in Koshofe local government area. Some of the affected residents, now homeless, are still milling around the debris of concrete and woods that once stood as home, wondering what lies ahead. Adirunke Adego has been taking shelter in a nearby uncompleted bungalow since she was displaced by the exercise.
I use my salary very well. I still have loans. I'm working with Maringa local government, senior officer for that matter. Still where I'm sleeping, my things, I didn't even, oh God.
The 56-year-old civil servant is apparently traumatized after witnessing the demolition of her home.
I went to Ikorodu to sell my only property there, 10 million naira, which I use. I've finished everything, POP, tiles everywhere.
Mrs. Adego's condition, pictures for challenges others are facing following the exercise.
I don't have anywhere to go. That is my husband's graveyard. He said when he's dead, I should bury him on his land. So I don't have anywhere to go. They came to 12 a.m. in the night with masks on their faces, with tear gas, with full force of police. They don't even allow many of us to take anything out.
I have the video evidences of all of the buildings here. There is no substandard building here. Money. I am jobless, homeless, everything less, and helpless at the same time.
Besides Sojileru, other parts of Oworoshoki are also affected. Video evidence reveals some houses are untouched amid the demolition along the shoreline of the lagoon. Public reactions to the latest demolition exercise has pitched the Lagos state government on the defense, justifying its action.
On one side, they don't have title to the land. On another side, they don't have approval. On another side, what they even built is threat to life because it's now a distressed building. So you have more than enough ground to remove them. In the first instance, it is illegal.
Supposing they go to court today and the court finds out that what the government has done is wrong, that the allegation of they not having document is not true, how do you remedy this level of damage that has been done?
All of this shouting is not just about compensation. It's about rebuilding our properties, our houses. We want our houses back as well as our land.
For now, the possibility of compensating or relocating the victims of the demolition appears not to be an option for both the Lagos state government and affected residents. But one question looms large. Can the Lagos state government balance environmental protection with the human rights to shelter?
In part two, after the break, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, recognizes David Mark-led African Democratic Congress Party. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. Federal High Court Abuja declines bail application by 5 terrorism suspects linked to the attack on St. Francis Catholic Church in Owo Town, Ondo State. Lagos State government talks tough, says no compensation for property owners of Oworoshoki demolition. Economic and Financial Crimes Commission invites former Group Managing Director of NNPCL, Mele Kyari, for questioning over alleged financial misconduct during his tenure. And Russia's defense ministry says it has no plan to attack any target in Poland after Warsaw said Russian drones entered its airspace. The former Group Managing General Group CEO of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Mr. Mele Kyari, today visited the headquarters of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, at the Commission's request to address questions on financial and technical matters from his time in office. He was seen walking in at about 2:15 p.m. today, September the 10th, 2025. The EFCC had approached the Federal High Court, Abuja, presided over by Justice Emeka Nwite, seeking a 60-day freeze order to complete its investigation. But Justice Nwite limited the freeze period to 30 days with the option of renewal if necessary. Lawyer to the EFCC told the court that the order was crucial because the accounts were under probe in connection with alleged conspiracy, abuse of office, and money laundering. Preliminary findings reveal that certain bank accounts were linked to Mr. Kyari, who allegedly exploited his role as a contract facilitator to launder illicit funds. In the meantime, Mr. Kyari walked into the EFCC premises, has said, "I have done my part, and the EFCC must have done theirs. That each of us do our duty without fear or favor, respect and commitment. Nigeria moves forward." The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has recognized the David Mark-led leadership of the African Democratic Congress, the ADC. It posted the recognition on its official website, affirming the David Mark-led executives as the duly constituted leadership of the ADC. The commission recognizes him as the national chairman, Mr. Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola as the national secretary, and Dr. Ibrahim Ahmed Mani as the National Treasurer of the ADC. Other principal officers are Kibu Dalhatu as National Financial Secretary, Professor Oserime Osumbo as National Legal Advisor. A recent internal crisis in the party had made the electoral umpire withhold its recognition of David Mark-led National Working Committee of the party. Trailblazer and a consummate media professional, late Dr. Doyin Abiola, has been described as an innovator who set new standards and devoted her life to the advancement of journalism in Nigeria, the service to humanity, and her fatherland. This was a submission of various speakers as family, political leaders, clerics, and associates all gathered at the Harbour Point Event Centre on Victoria Island, Lagos, for the service of songs and the night of tributes organized in her honor.
Very special evening. It is with profound sadness and deep respect that I rise to pay tribute to late Dr. Mrs. Doyin Sola Abiola, a towering figure in Nigerian journalism, a man character of grace and a quiet yet forceful advocate for truth, for dignity and public service. Mama Doyin Sola, as many affectionately called her, was not just, as we've heard, the first Nigerian woman to rise to the position of a managing director of a national newspaper. A feat she accomplished with extraordinary courage and competence. She was, in every sense, a pioneer, a torchbearer, a woman who navigated the turbulent waters of media.
The silent instruction I received from her on how to manage challenges has come in handy over the last few weeks. That was generally her way. She taught through her actions and not through her words. I will miss the depth of understanding between us, as is only possible between a mother and a child. Mommy knew me and never ceased to amaze me in how she never expected me to be her. She lived the truth as well, that children are indeed a heritage from the Lord. She respected that she was my divinely appointed earthly guardian, but not my God.
We'll continue the news at 10 now as we head over to our Abuja studios where Gloria Umezoke is standing by. Over to you, Gloria.
Well, thank you, Anne. We begin in Abuja with the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority, which has handed down a new flight regulation barring pilots from flying any aircraft in which there is an unresolved, unruly behavior. Speaking at a meeting with airline operators in Abuja, the regulator says the new directives are to guarantee the safety of the Nigerian airspace. It also restates its determination to enforce sanctions on airlines that violate their customers' rights.
Officials of the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority are meeting airline operators following reports of what the airlines describe as unruly behavior by air customers. The regulator expresses concerns over the increase in the number of complaints from customers on issues around flight cancellations, refunds and compensations.
In the last month, it has been an increasing number of complaints on these situations. Part 19 says you must provide information, you must provide care, you must provide protection or rerouting or refund to passengers. Another area of concern is the delay in making refunds to passengers. The regulation says that if a passenger makes a payment in cash, the passenger should be paid in cash. If a passenger makes a payment in bank transfer or any other means, the refund should be made within 14 days.
Some airline operators in the meeting also share their experiences with air passengers.
Yesterday, which implemented, the passenger came late to for a flight, even 19 minutes to a flight. Flight was already boarding, almost done boarding. And because the check-in passenger could not assist her, she got upset and took the keyboard of the computer, smashed not once, not twice, should the staff of our industry be subjected to that?
Recently, my colleague that is staying here has the same experience as a ground staff after advising a passenger of coming late for the flight and telling him the next step that needs to be taken. And as he was walking away, and the passenger just found out how much the price the ticket was, the passenger just came from the back and dragged ahead. So what I feel is that for a common Nigerian, we always feel that because you are paid for something, you have all the powers. So you feel some will tell you are the one that paid your salary, so you are enslaved to us. So whatever we need, you just have to make it available at that point. So like my colleague has said, as you're spoken about the group, I think the ground staff too really need a lot of protection because we are the most people that are being affected by this.
As part of efforts to address the issues raised, the regulator hands down further regulations.
Look, I have the authorization of the DGCA, Captain Chris Najomo, to say to all the airlines today, it's an instruction, that henceforth, whenever there's an unruly passenger on board, your pilot must not fly that plane until that passenger has either been removed from that flight or the issue has been resolved properly.
The regulator and the operators are hoping to intensify this kind of dialogue to improve the operations of airlines, especially when it comes to managing air customers in the future.
Still ahead on the news at 10, the Central Bank unveils new strategic framework to drive a more inclusive, secure and globally competitive digital financial system for Nigeria. That's in business news. Just join us again. Welcome back. You're still watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television. To the health sector, where the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Pate, says Nigeria is undergoing bold and unprecedented reforms under the current administration, setting the stage for a stronger and more prosperous future. He was speaking at the Gates CEO Roundtable Nigeria In-Country Patient Access Workshop in Abuja. Professor Pate, who highlighted key policy shifts of the Tinubu administration, says the measures are already beginning to yield results, boosting government revenue and creating conditions to attract greater investment into the country. Furthermore, he says the country has the potential to achieve President Bola Tinubu's vision of a peaceful, prosperous and people-oriented nation. Professor Pate urged visiting executives from global life sciences companies to pay close attention to the changes unfolding in Nigeria over the next 5 to 10 years, describing the country as where to be.
The electricity tariff that was reduced is a subsidy really on electricity was taken out, the tax reform, but also the local government autonomy. 5 very significant reforms that are poised to enable this country have the revenue and to attract the investments that will fuel further growth, where we are 3.4%, hopefully 6%, 7% year on year over time. And if we continue in that path, Nigeria's economy will grow faster in the years ahead because these multiple overlapping transitions are happening in our eyes, but we may not be cognizant of those changes that are happening.
Meanwhile, the representatives of the Gates Foundation reiterated their commitment to partnering with Nigeria for better health outcomes.
In the past 2 years, I want to say that this collaboration has deepened, right, under the leadership of the coordinating minister and his team. For an organization that is really interested in working side by side to government to introduce and scale evidence-based innovations that reduce deaths from vaccine-preventable diseases, improves maternal and newborn child and nutrition outcomes, as well as improving the delivery of quality primary healthcare services. This collaboration is actually a very important one for us that we don't take for granted.
Well, that's it from the nation's capital. It's even out to you, Anne, in Lagos.
Thank you, Gloria. The Group Managing Director of Gosima Group, Mr. Gideon Osi, has called on the federal government to give more support to indigenous companies, stating that this will help reduce unemployment and improve productivity. He made the call at a 3-day management training program held in Abuja.
Gosima Group, an indigenous company that provides services in construction, technology, green energy, real estate, and strategic consulting, with a focus on sustainable and innovative solutions. For improved project management, process standardization, and organizational structure, Gosima Group organized a 3-day leadership training for management staff members of the organization. The Group Managing Director, Mr. Gideon Osi, reiterated the company's commitment to promoting innovation and ensuring global standard practice.
Each of these sessions has been selected with one thing in mind: to equip us with the tools and mindset required to drive operational excellence and sustainable growth in our company.
This training focused on project management, customer service excellence, resource optimization, and strategic planning, which aims to drive operational excellence and sustainable growth in the company and in the nation at large.
We want to see the youth thrive economically, we want to see the youth thrive financially, we want to see the youth thrive when it comes to their careers, their projectile, like where they're going to. There should be a difference between where they're coming from and where they're going through.
The second day of the program focused on customer service, branding, teamwork, as well as accountability tools and techniques. They were joined by businessman and socialite, Mr. Obinna Iyebu, popularly known as Obi Kubana, who spoke on the need for increased youth entrepreneurship and innovation.
Make this group a global group, because when you actually lay a solid foundation, you can put as many flaws as possible.
The management of the company also reminded the staff on the need to contribute their best to national development.
We don't want to be afraid of any feat. We will achieve the best that is achievable within this climate and anywhere else in the world.
The third day was set aside for outdoor activities as the staff engaged in various activities, including dancing and tug of war, among others, as the management aims to improve team bonding.
Even if I had regrets before, the training justified the decisions we made. I feel so happy that I had the courage and the decision to bring them together for us to interact, to strengthen the organization, to impact in their lives, not just on projects. The human element is very important in every society.
In the days ahead, the company hopes to continue to provide sustainable and innovative solutions that align with environmentally friendly and progressive policies.
We take you now back to the service of songs, a night of tributes organized in honor of a trailblazer and consumer media professional, the late Dr. Doyin Abiola.
This gathering is one that evokes solemn and calm as family, political leaders, clerics gather at the Harbour Point Event Center, Victoria Island, Lagos, to remember Dr. Doyin Abiola.
We gathered here tonight not to mourn, but in reference for a life so profoundly lived and a legacy that will cultivate the passage of time. It is with profound sadness and deep respect that I rise to pay tribute to late Dr. Mrs. Doyin Abiola.
As the first female editor of a national newspaper in Nigeria, the National Concord, she broke barriers in a male-dominated field and proved through hard work, intellect, and integrity that women have an indispensable role to play in shaping the narrative of our nation.
In her tribute, the daughter of the deceased, Doyin Abiola Tobun, describes her mother with these words.
The silent instruction I received from her on how to manage challenges has come in handy over the last few weeks. That was generally her way. She taught through her actions and not through her words. I will miss the depth of understanding between us, as is only possible between a mother and a child. Mommy knew me and never ceased to amaze me in how she never expected me to be her.
A pioneer in Nigerian media landscape, Dr. Doyin Abiola was the first woman to serve as editor and later managing director of a national daily, National Concord.
I just marveled at how she could conceptualize policy on local, national, regional, international politics and development. There was nothing above her mind.
Even though her exteriors exuded calmness, coolness, but she was very fiery inside, very, very steely inside, very firm and very courageous.
In his exhortation, Pastor Goodman Akinlabi says the late media icon lived a life of legacy.
As we cherish the memory of a great woman who was selfless, who was kind, who has been spoken about tonight by many people from their memories of her and from the standpoint of her goodness, her kindness, and the great contribution that she's made to many lives, and especially also our nation, Nigeria.
Dr. Abiola, wife of the late businessman and politician Moshood Abiola and consummate journalist with a career that spanned 3 decades, died on August 5th at the age of 82.
To the world of business now, Dominic Iwewu is standing by.
Thank you. And the central bank has unveiled a new futuristic framework for the country's payments ecosystem with the launch of the Nigeria Payment System Vision 2028. In a statement issued today, the financial market regulator says the initiative sets the stage for Nigeria's digital financial system to become more efficient, secure, and globally competitive. The CBN describes the project as a national assignment with the potential to transform how individuals, businesses, and governments interact with the country's financial ecosystem. It adds that the PSV 2028, which succeeds the soon-to-expire PSV 2025, is expected to serve as the guiding blueprint for Nigeria's digital payments ecosystem over the next 3 years. And back home, the domestic stock market's main index is back at 140,000 points as the bourse maintained its rebound for a 3rd consecutive session. Ladi Williams tells us more.
Well, at the close of trading today, the NGX All-Share Index increased by 41 basis points, taking the market there back above the 140,000 level. That's supposed to be resistance at this point, psychological resistance, by about 365 points higher. And I would see the market cap, that's sitting at 88.81 trillion. Let's look at the market mover there, the major market mover, Dante Cement, closing at 528 naira, up about over 1%. The cement giant, they had their fact behind the figures, and it seems investors were, quite excited with what they heard today. There, talking about dividend payments and what they expect for revenue and the company there. Big news. Let's look at the sectoral performance. See, banking and consumer goods, just 1 basis points rise for both there. But the major action, that's with oil and gas, with a big 1.13% advance there, allowing the bulls maintain gained.
Thank you, Ladi. We end business news with snapshots of global markets closing figures for Wednesday. And that's it on business news. Back to Anne for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Dominic. And still to come on the news at 10, Russia's defense ministry says it did not plan to attack any targets in Poland after Warsaw said Russian drones entered its airspace. And that's on a foreign scene. Please join us again. Welcome back. Let's now join Simon Pisa with more international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Russia's defense ministry says it did not plan to attack any targets in Poland after Warsaw said Russian drones entered its airspace. It's after Poland's prime minister says 19 Russian drones entered the country's airspace overnight during strikes on western Ukraine. Up to 4 drones were shot down by Polish and NATO aircraft, according to Donald Tusk, marking the first time Russian drones have been downed over Poland. Images are coming in from a Polish village in the southeastern Lublin province, one of 3 classed as vulnerable overnight. Pictures appear to show a house damaged by drones in addition to a significant emergency service and military presence. Ukrainian officials have no doubts that this was a deliberate move by Russia, and they're calling for a strong response. Qatari officials are tasking a legal team with looking at holding Israel's prime minister responsible for breaking international law with yesterday's strike on Doha. Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel was fully justified because it targeted senior Hamas leaders who organized the 7th of October 2023 attack. Hamas said the negotiating team was meeting to discuss the latest US proposal for a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip at a residential compound in Doha when it was badly damaged by a series of explosions. Qatar condemned the Israeli attack, calling it cowardly and a flagrant violation of international law.
This morning, the Trump administration was notified by the United States military that as Israel was attacking Hamas, which very unfortunately was located in a section of Doha, the capital of Qatar. Unilaterally bombing inside Qatar, a sovereign nation and close ally of the United States that is working very hard and bravely taking risks with us to broker peace, does not advance Israel or America's goals. However, eliminating Hamas, who have profited off the misery of those living in Gaza, is a worthy goal.
Nepal's army has deployed patrols on the streets of the capital Kathmandu as the Himalayan nation reels from its worst unrest in decades. Fierce protests against corruption and nepotism spiraled further into arson and violence. The Prime Minister resigned as politicians' homes were vandalized, government buildings were set ablaze, and Parliament was stormed and torched. But the Gen Z groups spearheading the protests have distanced themselves from the destruction, saying the movement has been hijacked by opportunist infiltrators. President Emmanuel Macron has named close ally Sébastien Lecornu as the new French Prime Minister 24 hours after a vote of confidence ousted François Bayrou as head of government. The 39-year-old was among the favourites to take over, and he spent the past 3 years as Armed Forces Minister, focusing on France's response to Russia's war in Ukraine. In a statement, the Élysée Palace said Lecornu, the 7th Prime Minister of the Macron presidency, had been given the task of consulting political parties with the aim of adopting France's next budget. Kenya has been left in shock after the killing of a senior lawyer in a drive-by shooting on a busy street in the capital, Nairobi. Matthew Kialo Mbobu, a respected lawyer and former head of a political party's dispute tribunal, was driving home on Tuesday evening when a gunman on a motorcycle pulled up alongside his vehicle and opened fire. Witnesses on the road reported hearing multiple gunshots. The motive for the attack, which resembles the shocking killing of a lawmaker earlier this year, is unknown. Investigations are underway. Australian authorities are investigating a US influencer who has sparked controversy by filming himself trapping wild crocodiles in Queensland. Mike Holston is under fire for 2 videos posted for his millions of followers online, one showing him wrestling a freshwater crocodile and another showing him manhandling a saltwater crocodile, one of the planet's deadliest creatures.
Ever since a kid, I wanted to come to Australia and just look at crocodiles, catch them, get my hands on them, see them up close.
Mr. Holston says he made the videos for educational purposes, but wildlife experts say his behaviour is cruel and he's been labelled a goose by the state's leader.
This morning.
And a mural by the street artist Banksy has been removed from the wall of a court building in London. The mural appeared on an external wall of the Queen's Building in the Royal Courts of Justice complex. The image depicted a protester lying on the ground holding a blood-spattered placard while a judge in a wig and gown looms over him wielding a gavel. The work has been covered up at various points since it was discovered and guarded by security staff, with the HM Courts and Tribunal Service confirming that it would be removed due to the building being listed and therefore legally protected. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. The Nigeria Cricket Federation has named a 15-man squad for the 2026 ICC Men's T20 World Cup Africa qualifier, which will be played in Zimbabwe from September 28th to October 4th. Captain Sylvester Okpe leads the team, and he will be joined by his brother Isaac Okpe, Elijah Olaleye, Salim Salau, Sulaimon Ronshawe, and Isaac Danladi, who have all been to different foreign trainings since July. That sport is back to you, Anne.
Thank you, Chris. And the main news again. The Federal High